Hi, everybody. So today we are going to be doing a nonfiction read aloud of the book Who Says Women Can't Be Doctors? The Story of Elizabeth Blackwell. And this was written by Tanya Lee Stone and illustrated by Marjorie Priceman. So before we take a look, let's take a look at the intended grade level of this reading. It's best suited for a read aloud of classrooms first grade through third grade, but can be used for extended activities later on in elementary school. The guided reading level is level 1 to 2, and the genre is historical fiction. So we're going to begin by doing a picture walk. So let's take a quick picture walk of the book before we start reading to kind of make some inferences about what might be happening in this story. So this again is the title, the cover page or the cover of the book. And we can see here there's a woman. What might this flag mean? Maybe a hospital. Take a look here. Maybe some exploration, some inquiry. Take a look down a little bit. Oh, I can see ha ha ha. Maybe someone's laughing at the woman in this story. Right here, I can read the words women aren't smart enough. Maybe this has something to do with gender roles. And at the end, it looks to be some studying being done. This looks like a graduation of some sort. And then it looks like she's walking into a clinic. All right. So this book could spark interest for students to make them curious because the story is a true story about how women can rise above and take steps against gender roles. That there's a very good chance that your grandmothers or great grandmothers have more experience with these things. So you could always spark a conversation about this story later on with an elder or guardian in your life. So let's go ahead and get into the story. And I will be doing some think alouds throughout the story to help promote engagement. I'll bet you've met plenty of doctors in your life, and I'll bet lots of them were women. Well, you might find this hard to believe, but there was once a time when girls weren't allowed to become doctors. Does anyone know why women might not have been allowed to become doctors? Or can you think of another career or something else in history that women weren't allowed to do previously? Voting, maybe? Yeah. Back in the 1830s, there were lots of things girls couldn't be. Girls were only supposed to become wives and mothers, or maybe teachers or seamstresses. Being a doctor was definitely not an option. What do you think changed all of that? Or should I say, who? So, how do you think this main character is going to play a role in this? Do you think she's going to just take on the role of being a wife or a mother, or do you think she's going to make a change by what we've just read? Okay. Elizabeth Blackwell, that's who. A tiny wisp of a girl who wanted to explore around every corner and who never walked away from a challenge. This was a girl who had once carried her brother over her head until he backed down from their fight. A girl who tried sleeping on the hard floor with no covers just to toughen herself up. So the things that we're seeing this character, Elizabeth Blackwell, do as she was a kid, what are some character traits you can think of that would define how she's acting or why, like, she's up for a challenge, right? She might persevere. She bold. Yes. Let's see. A girl who climbed up her roof and stretched out as far as possible with a spyglass to see what was happening on the other side of town. Witty, maybe. Ambitious. All good. Yeah. But she hadn't always wanted to be a doctor. Actually, blood made her queasy. One time, her teacher used a bullseye to show students how eyes work. Elizabeth was repulsed. Does anyone know what repulsed means? Let's look at the context. Grossed out. Yeah, not happy. And she hadn't always wanted to help the sick. She had no patience for being sick herself. Whether she felt ill, she simply went outside for a walk. Once, when she was a kid, she hid in a closet until she felt better. She hated anyone fussing over her. What's another character trait that we could pull from what we know about Elizabeth now? Maybe she's independent. What's maybe a negative trait that we could connotate with these actions? Maybe a little stubborn, yeah. But that could be turned into good. Let's see. So, why did she become the first woman doctor? Because one person believed she could and told Elizabeth she was just the kind of smart, determined friend who would change the world. That person was Mary Donaldson. When Elizabeth was 24, she went to visit her friend who was very ill. Mary told Elizabeth that she would have much preferred being examined by a woman. She urged Elizabeth to consider becoming a doctor. At first, Elizabeth could not believe her ears. Even if a girl could be a doctor, why would she want me to be one? But Mary's idea gnawed at Elizabeth, a female doctor. So, what who who helped her and believed in her at first? What was their name? Mary. And what Mary was ill, right? And why did she say that she believed that Elizabeth could be a doctor? Because she would have rather had a woman examine her. And how does Elizabeth feel about this? Is she like, oh, yes, or is she a little bit unsure? Elizabeth thought about it the second morning she got up, about it the second she got up in the morning. She thought about it during sewing circles. She thought about it over tea. She even dreamed about it at night. So she was thinking about it all the time, right? Finally, Elizabeth asked doctors and friends. Some thought it was a good idea, but didn't think there was any way it could be done. Others said it just wasn't right. Women are too weak for such work. Women aren't smart enough. Laughing. Some people actually laughed at her. They thought she was joking. Elizabeth didn't see anything funny about a woman becoming a doctor. Elizabeth thought it was a fine idea, and her family supported her. She worked as a teacher to earn money and applied to a handful of medical schools, but they all sent her back the same answer: no. Why do you think the medical schools all said no? Because she was a woman. What in the world? No women allowed. She tried other schools. More letters arrived at the door. One by one, the answer was always the same: no, 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 no. 28 no's in all. In different ways, the letters are said the same. Women cannot be doctors. They should not be doctors. But Elizabeth didn't believe it couldn't or shouldn't, and couldn't or shouldn't. She refused to give up. She was as stubborn as a mule, quite rightly. One day, an envelope arrived from the college. She opened it and everything changed. The answer was, what do you guys think the answer is going to be? And why, after 28 no's, do you think she still tried? She was stubborn. What's a positive character trait for stubborn? Ambitious, confident. Yeah. Yes, Elizabeth packed her bags for Geneva Medical School in upstate New York. The townspeople were expecting her. As she walked down the street, some pointed and stared. They whispered to themselves that she must be wicked or crazy. Elizabeth thought that at least the students wanted her there, except they didn't. So, do you think there's women at the school, or are they all men? And why do you, again, what's the common theme? Why do you think they don't want her there? It's pretty simple, right? Because she's a woman. The teachers had the students vote on whether or not to allow Elizabeth to come in, and the boys, figuring the school would never really accept a girl, said yes. They planned to turn the whole thing into a big joke, but the joke was on them. Why did the boys say yes? Because they didn't think it was going to happen. The joke's on them. Let's see what that means. Their 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 laughter turned to silence as the ladylike Elizabeth took her seat. They wondered what kind of girl she was, the kind of girl she wouldn't who wouldn't take the bait. Some thought a girl wouldn't be able to keep up, except Elizabeth did keep up, often studying past midnight. She took it seriously, right? Elizabeth proved she was as smart as any boy, and soon the boys wanted to know what Elizabeth thought about this or that. It took the townspeople longer to accept her. Some people are afraid of anything new or different, not Elizabeth. Why did it take so long for people to accept her? Turn and talk. Okay. On January 23rd, 1849, Elizabeth graduated with the highest grades in the whole class. She had become the first woman doctor in America. Although many people were proud, others were angry. One doctor even wrote, "I hope for the honor of humanity that she will be the last." But as you know, she certainly was not. So, what do you guys think about that story? Let's let's take a quick review about the main theme or the main idea. So the main idea of this story, you could find multiple main ideas or multiple themes. But a big one I see is in order to promote social justice, especially for gender, this is specifically about gender, you can't accept the common beliefs and shouldn't take no as an answer. You need to be ambitious. You may need to be stubborn, but if you believe you are capable of something, and you work hard, you can achieve anything, no matter your gender, race, etc. And there are still things in society today that are complicated between gender, especially gender, race, things like that. And I urge people to consider those and stand up for what you believe in. All right. This is when we could implement a mini lesson about this book.